But I see a lot of people who just trying to run through with no team, no protection. And if you don't have no team and no protection, then the cutthroat gonna cut your head off.
They're gonna cut you off.
Right? Because they're gonna be like, oh, you think you have nobody blocking and tackling for you? All right, come on in.
Yeah.
Come on in. Gone.
Yeah.
Right? So I think if I could tell anybody anything, is like, you have real big goals, it ain't gonna be by yourself.
Welcome back to League Biz. It's your guy, Dennis Boateng, and we're about to have some amazing conversations here today. We got my guy, Dion. We go way back, so this is great. And then we got Calvin Andrews in the building. Man, look, so as you know, we're here for basketball and the business around it, League Biz, right? So we're gonna have this conversation to just kind of dive into your worlds and how you viewed and how you've navigated through it as well. Calvin, you're a sports agent. What gave you the passion or the drive to choose to be a sports agent?
Well, my path was a little different than most people now. Like, a lot of guys aspire to be agents. I never wanted to be an agent, to be honest with you. I had started a youth guidance program back in the Oakland area, and that grew. I was in corporate America at the same time. And then what happened was the kids just start saying, man, if we ever make it, why don't you just handle all our business? And it kind of morphed from there.
Yeah, now that's amazing. That says a lot about your character and leadership, helping them build their character as well on the court, off the court. Dion, you work with brands, partnerships, and you're a pencil. How did that come about? How did you get into your passion for sneakers? Tell us a bit about that.
I mean, it's similar to him. It's a super interesting journey. When I was in university, basketball was my life. I played basketball for the majority of my university career. I think as a basketball player, what you do is you're in basketball camps in the summertime. That's how you make money to stay alive. But what you also don't realize is that you're learning how to deal with young people while you're playing. So I always had a knack of actually working with young people. When I finished playing the game, one of the things I love to do is always wear different sneakers to the gym. So I naturally became a sneakerhead. Then after my basketball career, the sneakers was the thing that I used while I was a social worker, or to connect with kids, because they'd be like, oh, I have those sneakers, you have those sneakers, there's a common thread that we can talk about. Then I started diving deeper into like the actual sneaker industry. So like if I have their attention, how can I use their attention but start teaching them stuff? Then I started just researching, like, outside of being a designer, what's the other ways you can get into the sneaker game, which is like working with brands and partnerships and the other things that have to support the designers of sneakers. And that's kind of how my path came, where like, it's went from playing basketball to social worker to just having an itch and then figuring it out of how to work around the sneaker culture, but not being a designer. And then while I was working on a project in Toronto, actually, the Battered Shoe Museum, Out of the Box, Rise of the Sneaker Culture, the first ever sneaker exhibition in North America, I got introduced to who is now Dr. Dwayne Edwards. That was about 10 years ago. We stayed in touch, and now I'm the Director of Partnerships for Pencil Lewis College. So it's been kind of a crazy journey.
Nah, definitely. I mean, like I said, I've known you for a while. We have a great relationship, so it's great to have you here and see where you're at now. Calvin, you spoke to working with kids as well in the AAU, the Oakland Soldiers. I mean, legendary. Let's talk about that. What implored you to even start and begin in that?
Man, that's a long story that you gotta read the book for that one. But here's what I'll tell you. Growing up where I grew up in the Bay Area, we didn't see a lot of guys succeed and go on to college and do all those things. Great talent, but didn't have the academic structure and the guidance that they needed to take advantage of their athletic abilities. So I was fortunate that I was able to go on a D1 scholarship and play college basketball at Montana State University. During my time there, I had a rude awakening and understanding that this is serious stuff, man. It is very difficult to be a student athlete in a Division I school, like extremely difficult. And when I was a freshman, a senior sat us, it was 7 freshmen, he sat us down and he said, I want y'all to look around, look at all 7 of y'all. He said, maybe 2 of y'all will be here your senior year. And Dennis, there was 2 of us my senior year.
Wow.
So I learned and saw that this is a process. And if you're not ready for this, if you're not prepared for this, if you don't have the right foundation for this, you cannot survive in college athletics as a student athlete, as a true student athlete.
Yeah.
And so that made me really wake up and go, you know what? We gotta do something to help kids in my area get more prepared for this. And I had a good friend who was going through college at the same time. He wasn't an athlete, but he was at Cal Berkeley and he was around all the basketball players. So he was seeing it too from a different angle. So we would continuously talk about it and we was like, man, there's something there's something we can do. So when I graduated, I went back home and we basically started a youth guidance program. Everybody call it AU program right now, but back then it wasn't like that back then, you know? And so we said, let's get a group of kids from our neighborhood that can play basketball. Let's give them the structure they need. Here's the right classes to take. Let's go get their progress reports. Let's make sure they're doing this. And then still find the avenues that they can get exposure. College coaches wasn't coming to Oakland, California looking kids, you know? And so how do we take our kids from our area to put them on the platform where they can be seen and take advantage of their athletic abilities? We're already helping them academically, and then maybe they can go get scholarships. So we took like a ragtag team of guys and just put it together. And man, it just, each year, it just developed. But what really made it successful was our passion for what we were doing. It had nothing to do with any business, any money. We were doing this out of the kindness of heart. We were raising money. Man, it's stories, man. I know this ain't the time for this, but it's stories that'll make you go, like, it's insane what we went through. So, and this is like, somebody asked me when I got here, when did we start? This is like in 91, man.
Wow.
So we had no money, no nothing. And we throwing kids in vans and driving them to LA and Vegas and all these different places with no money, man. And one trip, this was a pivotal trip. This was kind of the deciding factor of how the soldiers became the soldiers. My guy, Hashim, who I told you was my partner, he took about 12 kids in a van from Oakland to LA. We did not have money to pay for the hotel room. We did not even have money to pay for the entry fee for the tournament. And he a Muslim, I'm a Christian. He said, man, we're gonna let Allah handle it. I said, we're gonna let God handle it. And he drove down there and he called me like, what's going on? Where the money? And I was working a corporate job at the time. And some older brothers who worked the job, they saw my demeanor wasn't right. It was like, what's wrong, man? I told them the program I was building, and I told them I was stressing over the situation. Man, each one of them wrote me a $1,000 check on the spot, brother.
Come on.
And the rest was history.
That's God's work.
So every year, we just kept getting new connections, new resources, it was just amazing. And then we finally hooked up with some people who really gave us some high-level resources. Sonny Vaccaro, who's the guru of, grassroots basketball, shoe deals, the whole nine. And he literally loved our passion and took us under his wing. And man, we just took that and just took our energy, our passion, our focus, and just built a monster program that's helped hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of kids, man.
That's wild.
Not trust. Legendary probably won't suffice describing what you've been able to do with your partner with Oakland Raiders. I mean, I said Raiders, Oakland Soldiers.
It's all good. Yeah.
But there's an important word that you mentioned that I want both of you to even dive deeper on, which is foundation. How important it is to build a foundation when you're hopping in this business, having a love for basketball. But you also got to understand there's a business behind it, right? The passion is good, but if you don't understand that you got to build a foundation, you're bound to fail, I feel like.
Let me jump in.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Because this is important to me.
Yeah.
And I stole something. I'm gonna give a person credit where I stole
for sure. Yeah, let's go.
I'm a big foundation guy. I call myself a builder.
Mm-hmm.
I like building things. I like building people. I like building businesses. I like building whatever I gotta build.
Yeah.
I just love it.
Yeah.
And so foundation is everything. Because if you don't have the right foundation, you can only build so high.
Mm-hmm.
So I work at Clutch Sports with Rich Paul, and him and I were having a conversation. He was talking to some parents, and he said a great thing. He said, listen, what we're gonna do is build the right foundation. And if we build the right foundation, we can build a 3-story building, or we can build a 50-story building. It does not matter if our foundation is correct. So I've taken that and told that story to other people, because now people can visualize and understand that. Because if your foundation's right, you can't go past 1, 2, 3 stories. So we have to build the proper foundations in order to help you achieve whatever your dream is. And so foundation is super key to me.
And I think also, just to piggyback on that, the foundation piece is like, if foundation is the key, right beside it is the why, right? Because it's like, why are you building something? Because a lot of young people in general, you may be building a foundation, you can't actually understand why you're doing it. So when the time gets rough, you'll be like, I don't want to do it no more. So like the why is, to me, integrated into that fabric and the DNA of your foundation. So to his point, you're saying, level 1, 2, 3, but every time you move to another level, so it doesn't get easier, it gets harder, right?
Yep.
And your why is what actually is going to push you through building those blocks.
Yeah.
But some people just want to get into the business of basketball, sneakers, whatever, because it's a cool thing to do, but they don't really have a purpose behind it.
Yeah.
If you're building a foundation, to his point, where like it's about generational change, and that's the reason why you're doing it, that's the energy, that's not by mistake. Someone's gonna cut you $1,000 check. The universe gonna make sure that's gonna happen because you actually understand why you're doing something.
Yeah.
But to his point, the trial and tribulations, like, are you gonna give up right now? Because you haven't figured it out.
Yeah.
Or you're gonna push through. The why is what's gonna make you push through and build that foundation.
And another thing too was when you mentioned about meeting Dr. Dwayne 10 years ago. You had to have built some type of foundation for you from 10 years to end up here now.
Yeah.
Something had to be built there. Can we speak to that?
It's kind of crazy. So like I said, I was working at the Battersea Museum at the time. I actually really didn't know who Dr. Dwayne was at the time. It was just like, oh, this guy's starting a sneaker academy. Let me invite him to be a speaker. And I was more on the fan side than on the business side at the time. So I just want to hear what this man is trying to say.
Yeah.
Dwayne shows up, and if you know Dwayne, he's probably the most humble guy you ever meet. No one greets him when he comes to the museum. And he just stands there like he's a normal person, doesn't trip. And then when I showed up, I was like, yo, how come ain't no one talking to you? And he's like, I don't know, but you're the one who brought me here, so what you need me to do? And I was like, all right, cool. So then I was like, oh, this is the type of individual he is.
Yeah.
So we went through this whole experience for 2 days. And then he was like, so like, first of all, you're a Black man in a museum. I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
So like, what's your goal? And at the time, I really wanted to be a curator because I had went through a lot of different experiences in the museum. And I was like, man, first of all, we brought sneakers in the museum. Second, understanding that museums are elite cultures. I need someone to help me break through this new energy and space that I didn't even know exists. So when I said that to Dwayne, he was like, you need to stay in touch with me.
Yeah.
Right? So like from there, we started our 10-year journey. And every time I started to make a pivot to do something different in my career, I'd call him and be like, man, what do you think about this? And he'd be like, no, you got it, you good. Go this way. Cool. And actually, I mean, you'll remember, so Yellow Brick, that was a big pivot in my career.
Yeah.
And Dwayne didn't actually understand why I was making that move. Because I had built kind of my own foundation and was doing a lot of independent things on my own. And then we had a real conversation, and I was saying to him, like, Yellow Brick was an opportunity for me to learn in spaces that I never learned before.
Yeah.
And from that point on, he was like, so what's the end goal? And I was like, the end goal at some point, I would love to, like, for us to collide.
Yeah.
And like, let me do my partnership thing, you do design thing, and when the time is right, we'll reconnect. About a year ago, I was in Detroit, ran into him. That's when he started Pencil Lewis College. And then he said, well, I think it's time for us to like kind of combine forces. So that's how it all worked over 10 years of time.
I bet that was a championship moment.
I mean, it was, but it's also like, a lot of things that we don't speak about is like changing your relationship to go work for your mentor. Like you don't see it as like, oh, this is my dream job, but cool, but the relationship about to change too.
Yeah.
Because now we about to go work. Before it was like mentor, mentee, Dion go left. But now I have my own opinion. So what happens if I don't actually want to follow your path? But we still on the same team.
Yeah.
And there's a whole space of learning there that people don't talk about.
Yeah.
It's like when mentor and mentee decide to actually become one, there's a whole new boundaries of spaces that you need to create in order to go get it.
Yeah.
And that's been really interesting. And I take my hat off to him because I really feel like he's a walking history piece every day.
Yeah.
And every day I'm learning something new. So.
Can you speak to that? Because I mean, what he mentioned regarding to the mentor-mentee relationship or just guiding, you're a sports agent. You're guiding athletes, whether they went through college, G League, whatever the case may be. These are young players stepping into something totally new. Now, you're the experienced one. How does that come about, building that relationship?
The relationship is key. If you don't have the right relationship with them, there's nothing you'll be able to achieve. You won't be able to achieve anything.
Yeah.
You can present contracts, present the opportunities, but if you don't have that connection where they listen to you and you can guide them, then it's just a transactional relationship and that doesn't go anywhere and doesn't last, My philosophy is to be all-encompassing in your life, to really help guide you in your life. Because if your life and all the stuff in your life is not correct, it's going to follow you on the court, period. And it's going to impact your play, and therefore it's going to impact your profession, and you're going to miss out on huge opportunities that, that this game allows these guys, right?
Yeah.
So my job is to be the guy behind the scenes to keep everything together.
That's right.
And I can't do that if I don't have a connection or relationship or a mentorship type relationship with my client. So, I had a client high-level client, I was one of the few people that can get him to really see and do things that he didn't necessarily want to do. But if I knew this was best for him, I knew how to get to him and get him to understand it. But what I had to do, I couldn't do it in a room like this. I had to get him one-on-one in a quiet room where me and him can process it.
Yeah.
And then when we walk out of the room, he go, I got you, man. I got it.
Yeah.
But if I was around his homies and all his friends and other people, man, I ain't doing that, Cal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it ain't going.
It was like, so I had to learn, okay, let me get him one-on-one because he respected me. He understood what I was saying. And I had a way of reaching him.
Yes.
And getting him to understand. And so we were successful in that regard. But the problem what happened was, anytime somebody wanted to do something, they came to me. And like, hey, can you get him to do this? Can you get him to do that?
Yeah.
And I had to pick and choose when I did that, So that's very key. It's very important to have that type of relationship.
Now, speaking to even that example that you just described, what are some of the toughest things that you experienced as an agent? Because I can't imagine.
The opposite of that is when they don't listen, which happens a lot.
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised how much it happens. So that's the challenging part.
Yeah.
When, hey man, you hired me to do a job.
Yeah.
And I don't make decisions. Let me make sure everybody's clear. I do not make decisions. I only process everything, put it on the table, and say, here it is.
Yeah.
Now, here's what will happen if you do this. Here's what's going to happen if you do that.
Yeah.
You make the decision. Now, if I think they're going to make a grossly bad decision, I'll jump in and say, hey, I don't know if you really want to do that.
Right.
And if you do, just know that we had this conversation and here could be the consequences.
Yeah.
So that's the challenging part of my business is when the client or the people around the client do not listen. We only ask two things.
Yeah.
First of all, if I come to you and I say I want to work with you, you've already passed the talent test and all those other things that are important.
Mm-hmm.
So the only two things I'm going to ask of you from here is work hard and listen.
Mm.
And I can guarantee you, if you work hard and listen to what we have to say, you will have a great career.
That's a bar.
And you'd be surprised on how hard it is to get people to do those two things.
I mean, I think we see it
Yeah.
in the end, right?
Yeah. In the end, it all works out, right?
Yeah. In the end, we do see it. Dion, just kind of speaking to what he's saying too. I mean, you've built relationships with brands,
For sure.
Partnerships. What's the tough things there that you've had to deal with?
I mean, I'm gonna try to go down the same path he went down.
Yeah.
So I feel like, first of all, like, because it's a basketball conversation,
Mm-hmm.
as I'm hearing you speak, like, athletes and artists / creators are very much alike in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause they don't listen, right? Like, they on their own stuff.
Yeah.
So I think, when you're working with young creatives that are designing sneakers or designing a campaign or whatever design they're gonna work on,
Yeah.
and having to work with the client, the challenge really is what they want to do is what they want to do.
Yeah.
And if you're working with said client, they have a creative brief that they would like you to follow.
Mm.
So being the referee of the two is usually the challenging part, where it's like you have someone who's hyper creative, who comes up with all this amazing stuff, but you don't want to suppress their creativity because you're like, that's dope, but that's not what they asked for, by the way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then on this side, they're like, I don't like that. And it's like, well, you don't want to suppress his creativity or her creativity because then the end product ain't gonna look good. So I think the challenging part is balancing the two and like, how do you make sure they understand I got this?
Yeah.
And then on this side, like, I understand what you're going through, get all that creative juice out, but then we still got to stay here.
Yeah.
In order for you to like move forward, it can't always be what you want it to be.
No,
And the reason I'm playing the middle part is because I want you to be successful. And having those hard conversations sometimes goes well,
Yeah.
sometimes doesn't, but the fact that they're having them with you is the most important part. So I think just the juggling of both sides is probably the most challenging part.
Man, that's you describing that. I'm just thinking like it's a hard job.
I mean, it's a rewarding job,
Yeah.
Because like, especially as a Black person in the industry,
Yeah.
there's not a lot of Black people in design. So
Yeah.
when you get an opportunity to help a Black person, be a creator for a big brand,
Mm-hmm.
it's worth it.
Yeah.
And basketball is such, that's the North Star for a lot of our communities.
Yeah.
But now being able to show young Black people like there's other ways to play the game
Mm-hmm.
that's not on the hardwood.
Yeah.
But also comes with challenges. It ain't easy, by the way.
Yeah.
You still gonna have to get in the gym.
That's
You're
right.
getting in the gym is Adobe Suite
Yeah.
and mastering that.
That's right.
So that's hours and hours of practice
Mm-hmm.
and learning how to present yourself, et cetera, et cetera. So I think it's worth it though. Like we're at a cool place, I feel, in the game where like there's people who are playing on the floor and then there's a gang of people who are playing off the floor, but they're actually doing it together.
Yeah.
And we
yeah.
never used to, at least when I played, that wasn't part of it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have a photographer
Mm.
while I was hooping.
Yeah.
I didn't have a creative person that would come up with my t-shirt line and we could hustle and sell that on our own.
Yeah.
There's no Instagram,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So like, all I'm thinking about is don't eat carbs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right. Get
Yeah.
in shape.
Yeah.
But now like young people playing the game, like it's really a team of people that are around
Yeah.
an athlete that create their brand.
Yeah. Yeah.
The person on the floor is actually the muse.
Mm-hmm.
Like you just have a role inside of your own team, which I think is amazing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So like, I think that's what makes me excited. Where like, as we move forward, there's more Black and brown people who are figuring it out. We're like, you talked about brands earlier, like they are their own brand.
That's right.
And they may not want to rock with a brand,
Yeah.
right? Because they're putting in work on their own,
Mhm.
right? So I think that's what keeps me going every day, knowing that like we're pushing the needle in spaces that we were never in before.
Hey guys, what's going on? I'm Dennis Boateng from League BIZ in partnership with DraftKings, who can show you how to handle your sport betting biz and get in the action right now. New customers who bet just $5 on any wager will get $150 in bonus bets instantly. Well, how do I get started, you ask? Simple. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use promo code BIZ. So, new customers can bet just $5 on any wager and get $150 bonus bet instantly. You can use that $150 in bonus bets on DraftKings same game parlays for an opportunity at an even bigger payout. And here's the cool part. You can combine multiple bets together from total points scored and other stats from your favorite players. And if you're already familiar with DraftKings, it is all good, because all customers can get a no sweat same game parlay or same game parlay extra. Get your bonus bet back if your bet doesn't hit, and max reward limits do apply. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers use promo code BIZ and bet just on any wager and get $150 in bonus bets instantly. That's promo code BIZ. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Peace.
I want to speak to what you mentioned, especially with the social media. That's the age that we live in now.
Right.
All types of athletes, artists, everybody's present. They're trying to go viral. They want to be present. How do you deal with athletes and coaching them through that, or how can they be present, but in a way that is still healthy for them?
For us, what we try to do is we have to educate them on how to use social media as a business tool and not as a fun tool.
Yeah.
But it can be both.
Right. Yes.
And so that's the key. How do we educate them to go, hey, listen, man, I know you want to do stuff, post stuff for your friends or whatever, but you got to understand, everyone in the world gets to see this.
Yes.
So you have to be very careful on what you post, when you post it, what you like, even what you like. They tracking that.
Yeah.
Like, it's incredible.
Yeah.
And so we first got to educate them on that.
Yeah.
Be careful what you're putting out here, right?
Yeah.
Second, this is a business tool. We want to increase your audience, right? Because now you can't do a deal now without somebody saying, what is this following?
Yeah, that's true.
Period. It really don't matter how good you are on the court, none of that. If you don't have to follow, they'll take a guy that's the 9th, 10th man on the bench and he got 2 million followers.
Yeah.
Then
Give
the
him
guy
a
that
deal.
started.
Send them a brand.
Right.
Yeah.
So we have to educate the guys on this is a tool for you to build your brand, for you to make money, for you to build partnerships, for you to build awareness. It could be, and it don't have to just be business. It can be, social impact things.
Yes.
All kind of stuff. So I think that's the key, is that we educate them that this is a tool now and not just a toy.
Yeah. Do you want to speak to that?
I think he took the words out of my mouth. I think letting people understand it really is a tool.
Yeah.
Right? Like, people use it for a lot of other things, but at the end of the day, it's like, how do you promote yourself? Right? And if you're going to promote yourself to the masses, right? Because it's a global megaphone. Everyone can see it. What story, what narrative do you want to tell? Right? And be very mindful of that. Then the other part is like, yo, don't take the shortcut though. So like, in my world, it's like, don't post no trash.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't draw that.
Yeah.
Or it's a half-ass drawing.
Yeah.
But you want to make it look like it's cool. Like, still do the work. Right? Like, do the work and then do what you want. But like, don't fake that you're doing the work. Because the only person that you're gonna actually be selling out is yourself. Because you put some fake trash work up there and a said brand calls you and you can't deliver, you're actually not only messing it up for you, you're messing it up for a whole gang of people.
Yeah, that's true.
Because they're like, man, I don't really mess with social then. I don't really believe that kids are good with that.
Yeah.
So it's like, do the work, showcase your work. I can't tell you right or wrong showcasing your work because your voice, but like, always still do the work. And like he said, remember, it's a tool.
Yeah.
First and foremost, like, a lot of people do a lot of things on there, but it's a tool to promote yourself, which no one ever had before.
Just thinking about the difference of the impact and the exposure that we have today compared to 10, 20 years ago. Calvin, sports agent now or then? Which one would you choose? Do you change anything?
Now.
Okay, and why?
It's a couple of reasons. One, it was easier back then, but I still take now. One, there's no better time to be in the business of the NBA than right now.
Okay.
The money is ridiculous. The exposure is ridiculous. I think the talent is unbelievable. it's just an incredible time to be in this market.
Yeah.
If you can really be in this market. You know, it's thousands and thousands of people trying to be in the market, but this is incredible. And the business opportunities, the ability to build a guy's brand and do the things, if you have the right person with the right mentality and, like I said, listens and ready to do all the right stuff, you can do some incredible things with the technology and awareness and the speed of getting information out. And like I said, the money, it trumps anything that we've ever dealt with before. It's kind of like old players, like, they wish they was playing right now.
Man,
you know?
Sure.
Could you imagine Kareem with an Instagram?
Oh my God. Or imagine Barkley.
Oh my
as wild
goodness.
as he was. As popular as he is now, it would be insane.
It'd be crazy.
Yeah. Global icon.
He was content before content.
No, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly. What about you? Would you say being in design and sneakers now or then?
I would have to say now, just because like we're literally living through history, in my opinion.
Yeah.
What Dwayne has created with Pencil, like we're breaking down, we're disrupting what education is.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, like all the people who work at Pencil are industry experts. They're not academia. So like when I went to school with someone, you know, this is what you do, blah, blah, blah. You're talking to somebody who worked at Nike for 20 years, who worked at Champion for 30 years.
Yeah.
Your president worked in the industry for 35 years. Like, show me a school that you have access to industry professionals like that. That's never happened. So I'd have to say today, because we're literally transforming education, design, how brands are actually approaching finding talent, all of those things, like we're painfully going through that right now. So like, for example, like think about our master classes. You know, we have a master class coming up with the Toronto Raptors, for example, right? 4-week master class. You have 30 students who can take part, and they're going to design their like Black History Month collection. Right? That really has nothing to do with the game of basketball, like shooting and playing.
Yeah.
Now you're engaging creatives.
That's right.
But what's cool about that is like, homie that dropped out of school, that never finished, but that's mad creative, you have an opportunity for a job.
Yeah.
Right? Like the actual education system that would have said, nah, you boxed out, go work at Starbucks. Now you could be that dude who works at Starbucks and seen this, and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna apply. Oh, I'm gonna get in. Oh, I won. So from Starbucks today, and by the end of March, you're designing for the Raptors.
Yeah.
Show me when that happened before.
I can't tell
Right?
you.
No, you're right.
You know what I'm saying? Show me when that happened before. So like to me, I'm just like, well, we living through this right now.
Yeah.
So I'd have to say, you know, what we doing today is pretty dope. You know?
No, for sure. Calvin, when we talk about the love of basketball, and there's people who want to be sports agents, do you think it's easier for someone who has the love for basketball to be a sports agent, or someone who's actually played the game and had the experience being on the floor?
Unfortunately, right now, the love has nothing to do with it, man.
It's a business.
Hey, keep it real. Keep it real.
Not
These
on
people
my
need to
side
hear
of
it.
it.
Yeah.
It's all about connections. It's all about your network. It's about all of those things. So you probably have a better chance if you were a former player, because then people can resonate with, and they think you can relate to them better. Just a person, and unfortunately we deal with this all the time, and there's thousands and thousands of young individual, males, females, straight out of college, straight out of law school, whatever, constantly banging on the door. Hey, I want to get in. How do I get in? How do I get in?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's sad because sometimes I go, man, it's just too hard. You gotta understand, there's only 420 players in the NBA. That's it.
Yeah.
You know how many people play basketball? It's very finite.
Yeah.
But there's thousands of agents.
Yeah.
Certified agents.
Yeah.
So you do the math. How does thousands represent 400?
Yeah.
It doesn't work, right?
The math ain't mathing.
And 20% of the agents represent 80% of the 400.
Wow.
So it's it's so hard, man.
Yeah.
And what I just try to tell people that's aspiring to be in it is build your network, get some type of education or credentialing where people can look at you and go, okay, at least you have business background or whatever it is that you can get access to show you have some type of technical or academic abilities.
Yeah.
But it's really, everything has to do with who you know and relationships. That's it.
Yeah.
You could be a guy who dropped out of high school. You mentioned, like, if you're creative, you're creative, right?
Yeah, if you could
Where in
play,
our
you could play.
business is, if you know players, you know players, right?
Yeah.
So it's just so hard, man, to get in our industry.
Yeah.
And not only to get in it, anybody can go get certified,
Yeah.
but to actually have clients and really
Yeah.
have an impact in the industry is so challenging, so hard.
You got to get in the room, it sounds like, right?
The room's not hard. The room's not easy to get into.
Yeah, you ain't lying.
I mean, I think about this though, because I'm like, okay. I mean, I'm not saying that anybody could just replicate what you did, but it's like the formula or the foundation was you working with kids and teaching them just how to build their own foundation. Maybe that could be a way that maybe that's where it starts.
Yeah, but for me, it was accidental.
Mm.
It wasn't purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't, hey, I'm gonna go build this,
Yeah.
and this is gonna turn into this.
Yeah.
I would have been a fool if I thought that was the case.
Right.
Mm.
Because it was 20 years
Yeah.
of doing that before I even
Yeah.
got
yeah.
a shot at doing this.
Yeah. And you were working a corporate job. too.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you can't say that my path, people tried my path and it doesn't work
Mhm.
Yeah.
for that very reason.
Yeah.
Because if you try to build this with the purpose of, I want to make money, I want to do this, I want to do that, there's going to be too many obstacles along the way that you're going to say, forget this.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what was different from us. We had a passion. So when we hit a roadblock, okay, we got to go around because we still got to get there,
Yeah.
right? Another roadblock, don't matter. We got to find a way to get around, get there. Because we were driven by the passion. We weren't driven by a job or a career. This never was going to be our career.
Yeah.
Right.
This was
Right.
our program. We're destined to help kids.
That's right.
So roadblocks was just part of the thing. Where we saw other people, I'm gonna start an AAU program and I'm gonna become an agent.
Mhm.
They failed in 2 or 3 years.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
no way you're gonna survive.
And then you let the kids down too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Man.
Because you was driving in for the wrong reasons anyway.
Yeah.
So I mean, go back to the why.
Yeah.
He's
That's
right.
the why.
And that's what was up.
Yeah.
Our why was like
Yeah.
the kid. It wasn't
Yeah.
us. We spent a lot of money trying to help these kids. It wasn't us.
Yeah.
It was the kids. And that's what was the reward for us. I have kids to this day. They 30, 40 years old. They'll come up to me and say, hey, man, you changed my life.
Mm.
Just to hear that, that's my reward, man.
Yeah.
That's
real.
my payback.
That's
Yeah.
real.
And I hear it all the time. So I feel real good about what we build and the lives that we've impacted.
Yep.
And so I didn't do it to become a sports agent.
That's right.
So I wouldn't advise anyone else to do that.
Yeah.
But
for sure.
that don't mean you can't get close to an AAU program. That don't mean you can't help out. That don't mean you can't get involved, because that's how you need to develop the relationships. So
No, that's right.
yeah.
Dion, you were nodding and you were agreeing a lot. I want to get your take on some of those things that you've even also experienced or just saw.
I mean, I feel like I was listening to him and it's real. Like
Yeah.
I never even thought about this as a career, period.
Yeah.
Right? Like one of the things that was hitting home when he was speaking is like the amount of creative young men and women from Black communities that, like, I'll speak for myself. My mom still doesn't understand what I do,
Mm-hmm.
because the way she was brought up was like, finish school, get a job at the bank, buy a house, get married, have kids, you're successful.
Yeah.
Then somewhere in there, like, I was like, nah, I ain't doing that. I'm doing something different.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, but I say all that to say, like, think about, you know, a Black household where you're a creator, you're creative,
Mm-hmm.
and your parents have no idea what that actually means.
Yeah.
So they can't support you, right?
Yeah.
So, like, then what happens, right? If you're someone who doesn't hoop, right? You don't rap, then what's next, right? Like, where's your resources or your support gonna come from? So that's why I really dived into it, because I was like, whoa, me as a young guy, it was all basketball. I fell into this by mistake, right? Like, trying to help kids understand, like, well, you can't really hoop that good, but yo, you could draw. We could still figure something out for you. And them being resistant, like, nah, that's a waste of time. I'm gonna go do this. And it's like, okay, let me show you how this can actually come to life.
Yeah.
Then seeing 2 turn to 4, 4 to 8, and then going to different communities, and like, you're seeing, you know, the young boy outside that gets all the girls, and you're like, yo, you're good at social media. I'm like, yo, you know that's a job? He's like, nah, I'm gonna get paid. I'm like, yo, do you know LeBron James pays $100,000 for a social media person? He's like, word? All of a sudden now you capture somebody, right? It's a brand new career.
Yeah.
But it lives inside creativity.
That's right.
So I think that's interesting, because like, for a long time, we didn't have access to that.
Yeah.
Like, what is a career in creativity? Show me a Black household that could actually explain that. Not many.
That's right.
So like, while you're speaking, I'm like, I did the exact same thing, just in a different space.
Yeah.
Right? Or it's like, no, I didn't get into it because I'm trying to make money. I got into it because like, I am actually that kid that would have loved to know this long time ago, but now I'm in a position to teach it. And like, I feel like it's my duty to continue to do the work because I have access, right? So I have all this information, I'm in rooms, I'm learning things that I didn't even know exist. So for me to not share it with other young Black women and men, to me, like, that's a disservice to your community. I've just been blessed enough to like rock and roll with someone like Dr. Dame Edwards, right? Like E. Scott, all of the people who, you know, LB, all the people who work at Pencil, who help mentor you and shape you and show you can actually do this, right? So I think it's basketball and creativity have so much intersections that it's crazy.
Do you guys have any regrets? Because I mean, you've had passions, there's ups and downs. Is there any regrets or anything that you would have done differently, but to still get to where you're at?
That's a big
For
question.
me, I would say yes, but now as I look at everything, I would probably say don't change anything because there's some things that happen in my career. I'm gonna say, I ain't gonna say my life, I'm gonna say my career that derail things, you know? But it made me better, right? Like, you know, they say the failure is the best teacher, right? And it really is, right? And so part of me, I would go back and change this so that these things didn't go this way. But in actuality, it actually helped me become who I become and put me in situations that I'm now in. So I kind of gotta say yes and no.
That's a fair answer though.
You know that?
That's
what
for
I'm
sure.
saying.
I understand.
You know, if I was put back in that moment, I would probably be like, all right, let's do this differently. But then I would have to catch myself in, you don't know where this is gonna go.
That's right.
Right? So I'm gonna say no regrets.
No
regrets.
What about you?
Similar, like I feel like you have to say no, because otherwise you wouldn't be here. Like, it happened this way by, you know, the universe's design. So like, it happened. So you can't say, oh man, I wish I would have changed that. What I would have loved to invest in more is just mastering patience. Because like, while you're on this road to whatever you're trying to get done, you have to understand it's never your time. Right? It's never gonna be on your time. You may be like, yo, I wanna be the best agent by 2025. That's a good goal, right? But like, it may not happen at that. It actually may happen sooner. It may happen later. But like, the patience to understand that, like, yo, actually just continue to do the work. And work on your craft. Like, if someone had ingrained that in me early, I think it would have made a big difference, because like, sometimes you get in space and you're like, man, I want it to happen like now. And it's just not happening, right? And then like, frustration happens. And if I could have heard that from a younger stage of like, yo, invest in patience and master it. It's like, and sometimes it is what it is. You're human. You know, man, this taking too long. Like, we need to go over here.
I feel like, and that's the thing that you guys spoke to. Like,
that happens daily too, by the way. It's not like I have a match. It's lifelong.
Speaking to like what Calvin, you were saying, like, there might be, if the passion ain't there, you see a roadblock, Might be like, never mind.
Exactly.
I quit.
Yeah.
This ain't for me, you know,
Yeah.
and try to do something else. When you guys talk about working with kids and the service and everything, you guys are ultimately giving people opportunities.
Mhm.
What is it that you see in people that you're like, oh, yeah, let me give this kid this opportunity, or let me help this kid a little bit more. Let me give them a little extra motivation or advice because it's going to help them in the end.
Yeah, you have to understand something about me, and I am I love potential.
Mm-hmm.
I love identifying people with potential, whether it's on the court, off the court, business, community, whatever. I just love potential. But my biggest pet peeve is not seeing potential actualized. That drives me insane. So I'm gonna go above Call of Duty to help you achieve your potential, just because it drives me.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have this weird gene that I really like helping people. I still don't understand it to this day, but I just learned to accept it.
Yeah.
And I just deal with it, and I just help people.
Yeah.
Right. And so I encounter a lot of people who have aspirations to do it, be an agent, be a business person, be a nurse, be a doctor, whatever. And if I see that thing in them, they got me.
Yeah.
You know, they got me. I'll help them. I'll do whatever I can. Sometimes even to my detriment, you know, which I got to work on that.
Yeah.
And but yeah, man, it's just, you know it when you see it, right?
Yeah.
You just know it when you talk to somebody and you hear their plan or what they got doing, and you watch them, you see how they move. You go, okay, this person has it. Let's use our resources and our knowledge and our connections to help them however we can.
Yeah. Dion?
I think for me is like, if there's something that's sparkling or something that I look for is grit, right? Like that grit. So like, I'll give it to you in a story.
Yeah.
I remember when it was still Pencil Academy, and Dwayne had invited me to one of their like boot camps that they do. It was over 4 days, and he drills them, like he goes super hard, right? And he did this trick, like it was day 2, at the end of day 2, he cuts all the power out, right? But you still got to be able to deliver on day 4.
Wow.
You don't got no power.
Wow.
So like, there's 20 kids, and you could literally see like the Michael Jordans of the game that, man, I'm going home, right? Because you know power, cool. But then the kid who's like, yo, we got candle, yo, let me get my cell phone out and turn on the light. You're like, yeah, that's that kid.
Yeah.
Yo, what you need? Because now you like, see all the talent, can't teach you that, right? Then you just like, yo, I'll stay with you till midnight.
Yeah.
Because in your mind, you're like, I'm not losing today, right? Like they had no power, I'm gonna get it. And that's what I look for. When I see that, I'm like, no, you gotta feed that. Because even if you can't shoot, like in basketball, you can't shoot the ball at all, I can't teach you that.
Yeah.
That's you, right?
Yeah.
If you can't draw a straight line, but you're willing to work in the dark, yo, I can't leave you here by yourself.
Yeah.
I gotta invest in you, right? And when you see that and you start seeing it by the masses, then you're like, oh, okay, now we're working, right? Because like the talent could be subpar, but like if I put you on at Addy or Nike or whatever, I could guarantee you, yo, when it gets rough, that dude right there, figure it out.
That fourth quarter pressure.
And they ain't even gonna be pressured. They're gonna be like, oh, yo, where the candle at? Yo, where the light, like, where the lighter at?
Yeah.
Like, let's get, like, their mind is getting the job done. Not all the fancy stuff. So for me, it's like, when I see young people and older people who have grit, that's super attractive to me, where it's like, I'll dive on the floor for you, because you dive it on the floor for yourself.
Hey guys, what's going on? I'm your host, Dennis Boateng from League BIZ. And we talk about the business of basketball there, but I want to show you how we handle business. So a big shout out to DraftKings for being a sponsor for League BIZ. I mean, honestly speaking, if we didn't have DraftKings on our side, I mean, where would we be? You know what I mean? So shout out to DraftKings. Very excited about the partnership that we have going on. But you know what? Let's get to the fun part of things, right? So daily fantasy, that's what I want to tap into today. So let's take a look right here, right? So today I'm choosing daily fantasy, okay? When it comes to daily fantasy, it's more about being surgical. You know what I mean? You're not just depending on a team, whether they're gonna win or lose or whatever the case may be, right? So you're actually gonna tap into what the players are doing. So look, we go to DraftKings.com. I'm in daily fantasies. Now I go to the NBA slot and let's see what contest that I want to tap into. Now, for me, I'm like, okay, NBA 350K fadeaway, and it looks like it's 100K to the first place. So let me click on there and see what's going on. So contest features $350,000 in total prizes and pays out the top 5,860 finishing position. First place wins $100,000. Okay, all right. So now we got to tap in. Now in this, it says that the entry is only $15. So tapping in with just $15, I have the potential and the opportunity to win 100K off of daily fantasies. Okay, we got to check this out. Look, when it comes to first place, $100,000. Second place, $30,000. Third place, $10,000. Fourth place, $5,000. Fifth, $3,500, and the list goes on. Look, even if you get 10th place, that $15 can turn into $1,000. If you're 11th through 15th, that $15 can turn into $700. I mean, what are we talking about here? Huh? All right, let me stop wasting time. Like, we got to really tap into this and see what is going on, okay? So now, since we've already gone, let's go ahead and start looking at these picks and what we can get into right here. Now, see, this is the part that I feel like is really dope and gets me excited, okay? Now, I talked about the sportsbook side, but then also with the fantasy side, like the daily fantasy side, which is once again surgical, because you gotta love the game of basketball. You gotta know what's going on. And if you don't, it is totally fine. You can always become a student of the game. You just gotta tap in, watch the game, see what's going on, right? So I can pick 8 players of my liking, right? It looks like, look, $50,000, right? I have $50,000 to spend and choose 8 players to help me win this $100,000 for the first place. All right, so now I am tapped in, okay? I gotta see what's going on. Now, point guard, okay, we gotta look. Also, too, we gotta be strategic because we don't want to spend all of our money, okay? Hey, also too, when you see this, y'all better not be judging my picks either, okay? You better not be judging my picks. I'm not playing with you, okay? All right, look, I'm gonna go with D Schroeder, okay? I'm gonna go with Dennis Schroeder. So, boom. All right, so now shooting guard. I'm looking, I'm seeing what's going on. Man, you already know I gotta go with my guy Clarkson. You know, he does put up points. Let's not play. Okay, let's not play. So now I'm looking, and also too, like I'm saying, there's got to be a strategy to this. Look, I'm just showing you how this goes, but hey, you are open to pick whoever you want. I'm not judging you. I'm just showing you what's going on here, right? So now, let me see. Let's go with Scotty Barnes. I know, man. I know. That boy's strong though. That boy's strong. Hey, don't play. He is strong. And you know, I gotta go with my boy Kevin Durant. Gotta have Durant on the squad. Okay, so now I got 19,400 left. So I gotta play it smart, okay? I do have to play it smart. All right, guys, so that was me taking an attempt to choose 8 players that I felt like I could win this contest with and get to first place, which is winning $100K, as I spoke about. And remember, the entry is only $15. So with $15, you're able to enter in this contest, pick the players that you believe that will actually perform the best, because of the knowledge and how much you watch the game and who you know that's going to show up and ball out. And sometimes, some people don't ball out. So you know, that's the part of the game. But all that to say is, with $15, you get first place, you're able to win $100K from $15. And then second place, $30K, and it goes all the way down. Even if you get to 10th place, you're still able to walk away with $1,000. So you do the math. Let me know if I'm tripping, okay? So if you want to find out more, make sure you go to DraftKings.com/biz. And when you get there, make sure you can use the code BIZ as well, okay? And I want to give a big shout out to DraftKings. Thank you for being a sponsor of our show, League Biz, where we talk about the business of basketball and so much more. So we're excited for what this show has in store, and we hope that you guys continue to tap in with us and stay tuned in for exciting episodes as we talk about the business of basketball. And once again, shout out to DraftKings. Peace.
Calvin, I want to ask this question because I think that a lot of people see the word sports agent and they see like the sexy side of it, Jerry Maguire and all that, but they don't understand what really goes into it. How, percentage-wise, or even however you want to describe it, how much part do you have in the athlete's athletic development?
By the time they get to us, they're athletically gifted, they're super talented, the whole nine.
Yeah.
We do play a large role in making sure that continues to either stay at a high level or continue to grow.
Yeah.
It's not that I'm in the gym with them, but I'm making sure that they have the right resources and the right people and the right trainers, and they're doing the right things in the off season and during the season to take care of their body and to enhance their skills. So we do play a large part in that.
Yeah.
I'm not in the gym. When I was younger, I was in the gym, but I'm not necessarily in the gym with them working on those technical things, but I'm making sure the right people are in the gym with them.
Yeah.
Where we really excel is creating that framework and that support that allows them to march down that career path smoothly and continue to progress. Whether that's the trainer, whether that's their body is right, whether that they're making money off the court, whether that we've got people living with them that handles all the right stuff.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, whether it's we got the social media people on it, whatever it takes, that's our job to make sure that all they have to do is when they step on that floor, they focus on their craft. And they're not worrying, did somebody pick up my mom from the airport?
Right.
Are tickets here? Is this? What am I doing tonight after the game? Like, no, go be who you need to be on the court.
Yeah.
And we'll take care of everything.
Everything else. Yeah. What is a misconception that you think a lot of people have when it comes to stepping into the sneaker space, wanting to design or work with a brand?
The misconception I think they got is it's easy, right? I mean, we talked a lot about social. It's very easy to be kept in kind of private drawing and have your homies say, hey, you the best.
Yeah.
And then put it on Instagram and everyone likes your picture and now you have all this confidence and you don't really know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think the misconception really is like, there's a process to it.
Yeah.
Right? It's not instant gratification. And, one of the other things I think about is like, a lot of people think that because you're gifted or you're nice with design, it's usually not that gets you in the door. It's the other soft skills that come with that, right? Like you as a designer or someone who works in creativity, you're working on a team with people. And if you're an a-hole, they ain't gonna mess with you,
Yeah.
right? And it's like, remember, whatever you are in a creative role, you're gonna be one of many. So like, it's a team sport, creativity, right?
Yes.
So like you could be gifted, but if you don't have soft skills and you don't know how to talk to people and you don't know how to work in a team, then it's not as easy as you think,
Yeah.
right? When you go into these big corporations, it's a culture you're going into. So like as much as you work on that side of your talent, you also have to work on the other side, which is, can I play inside of a Nike or an Addy or a Puma and like think about it not just from like my physical work, but like how am I gonna function internally to get my workout?
Yeah.
You know? So I think that's the misconception that I could draw, so some pictures and I'm good.
Yeah.
Versus like, nah, drawing is just the first step. Or being creative is just the first step. Then there's a whole bunch of other skills you gotta pick up. When you get in the industry, that's one thing. To be successful in the industry is a whole other bag of tricks.
Yeah.
And then if you really want to go on and be legendary, that's what, like, it's stages every single time. So yeah, it's not as easy as people think. Like, I could draw your face right now, so I should be able to get into the games. Nah, it ain't that easy.
They don't work like that.
Yeah, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah.
Now, you mentioned the word industry, which stood out to me because I even remember myself when in college, when you're trying to get internships or trying to get jobs, you're like, everybody, the industry's cutthroat. The industry's cutthroat. Can you guys speak to that and any experiences that you might have had where the industry was cutthroat and how did you handle it?
I mean, that's
He just laughed.
Because that's a huge question.
That chuckle.
The industry is cutthroat. I think any industry is cutthroat when you have, or the perception that there's only a certain amount of opportunities. So to get rid of that perception, first and foremost, there's an abundance of opportunities. The challenge is that everyone thinks that there's not, so they're gonna cut your head off. So I try not to focus on like the cutthroat side, but instead start focusing on your team side. Because it's like, how do I get with a team of people to play in the industry that's cutthroat? Because that will never change. Like, people always gonna cut your head off to try to move forward. If you got a squad of people where you like, you know what, I got my team, and this is my world. Not the world, this is my world. I make sure my world is good. Then the cutthroat ain't even penetrating because you're moving as a unit, right? So now when you run into, that's how you moving? Nah, dude, none of that. Keep it pushing.
Yeah.
But I see a lot of people who just trying to run through with no team, no protection. And if you don't have no team and no protection, then the cutthroat gonna cut your head off.
They're gonna cut you off.
Right? Because they're gonna be like, you think you have nobody blocking and tackling for you? All right, come on in.
Yeah.
Come on in. Gone.
Yeah.
Right? So I think, like, if I could tell anybody anything, is like, you have real big goals, it ain't gonna be by yourself, man. So you need some soldiers and some lieutenants to run with you.
Yeah. So
when you see, the head chopper coming, you're like, we know what that is. Cool. Assemble the line.
Yeah.
Cool. You can't pass the first line. We gonna cut you up. You ain't cutting us.
Yeah.
Keep it pushing. So I think, like, the focus on like building your team of people around you, and then going into the industry and understanding, you do this, let's run as a team. And you know what? Internally, sometimes they ain't gonna be smooth between us.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like, don't focus on the cutthroat of it, because that's not gonna change. Control what you could change, which is like putting the people around you to go into, like, you're gonna go into the hood and you from another hood and you going by yourself?
Yeah,
all right, then you asking to get robbed. Right. Cool. But you come with your 5, shit, ain't no one stopping us. I know I'm good.
Yeah.
So it's just like, that's how my thinking is. Like, when industry is cutthroat, don't focus on that. Focus on building your team, so when you get in the industry, no one can cut your head off.
Yeah. Calvin?
I think everybody knows my industry is extremely cutthroat.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Mostly because the money's driven. There's literally situations where if you have this kid as a client, this could mean multiple millions of dollars in revenue to either you or your company, right?
Yeah.
So you got to imagine, what are people willing to do to get that prize? It's unlimited. It's unlimited what people will do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that makes it very tough in our business, because there's rules, but there's really no rules. If you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So a lot of cutthroat.
Yeah.
A lot of cutthroat. But I'm gonna build on something he said. If you're talking about just the agent part of the business, it's very small, very, very hard to get into. And once you're in it, the sharks are swimming all the time, right? So you have to have a team, right? you have to join a gang, right?
I like that.
And you can move in these ocean with a lot more confidence, right?
Yeah.
And you can make things happen. You can have protection. You can feel better about what you're doing with your clients. The other thing I like he said was, we got to look beyond just the agent, because that is a small finite group. We got to look at the industry and expand it. And then there's all kind of things. There's content creators in our industry.
That's right.
There's production people in our industry. There's front office. There's all kind of other aspects in our industry other than just being an agent, right? There's a ton of things in our agency that people are doing that connects them to the sport and to the industry. So I tell people all the time, everybody, I want to be an agent, I want to be an agent. That's cool, but go start in a mailroom first. Dude, just get in. Because if you are really good and you're in our world, you're going to continue to move up.
That's right.
I know some of the most successful agents in the business right now started in firms that I work with as interns. And now they're doing their thing in the industry. So we hear the story about guys that's presidents of teams or GMs of teams, they started as interns with NBA teams. That's what happens. So you just got to get in wherever you can get in and then just continue to work and blossom. But it goes back to you. He said he wished he had patience when he was young. You got to have patience.
Yeah.
You got to say, I'm going to do the grunt work. I'm going to do whatever I got to do because I believe they're going to see my shine, right? And I'm going to knock doors down and keep growing, but you got to get in. Don't just think, I got to be an agent. Think of a path to get to that.
When people are watching you guys, what is it that thing that you want them to see for them to get that right exposure?
I think what I want them to see is that two things usually, like A, I'm human, so I'm gonna F it up probably more times than not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then I just try to be my most authentic self. Like I feel like, that's what I try to do the most. That's what's helped me in my career, where like, I am who I am. And I'm not trying to be someone I'm not.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I've had a real interesting career of how I got here. I try to share that. And some people rock with it and some people don't. And that's okay, right? But like, I'm just always, trying to make sure I show up as just my authentic self and tell the story from that. Because I think one of the most important things, at least my journey, is like people understanding that the only way I could tell you is to tell you it backwards, not forward. So that means that like everything you're trying to do, you're like, man, could you give me the game plan? I'm like, actually I can't. I could only tell you how I did it backwards.
Yeah.
So like when this came, I went this way, but you might go that way and it may not work for you.
That's right.
So all I could do is be authentic of how I got here. And then you may hear something in there and be like, all right, well, I want to be me. And that decision Dion made is not me, but like the exposure of me understanding that he's built on just being authentic. So I'm going to go this way because that's what feels right for me. Then I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
Right? Because I feel like that's one of the most important things, like these creative careers and doing all the amazing work that everyone's doing. Is you only can really tell your story backwards. You can't I can't give you any gift forward.
Yeah.
Right? I could tell you what happened yesterday. And like, we did something with the Pistons yesterday. I could tell you how crazy it was to make that happen the last 3 months. But if you had asked me 3 months ago, like, how do you do that? I'd be, man, I don't know how to answer. I just know when the challenge came, I went this way.
Yeah.
Right? So like, just be authentic and patient, man. But I want people to be, when they see an exposure to me, it's like, he's a real dude. He's gonna keep it 100.
Yeah. I want to just say ditto to everything he said. Because being your authentic self, to me, is super, super key. And most important for me, and my way I live my life is my humility, just staying humble and just being appreciative of every situation and opportunity that I have. That I think when people see me or encounter me, they walk away like, man, that dude is just a normal dude. He's solid, man. Like, man, I just, and I want that to rub off on people, because in our industry, it can be easy to lose your humility, man. It can be real easy. And so we don't need a lot of people in our industry walking around like that, man. And so that's what I would want people to gather from me.
I think it's interesting because like he just said something, it was like in any industry that's, showcased on a real platform, it's like the majority of people ain't real in it, right? So like when you meet someone real and you feel like I could chop it up and let's, talk normal, you're almost like, is this real? Like, is this guy cool? Like, cause like you're so used to like moving in spaces and just putting on your face, like, hey man, what's up? All right, cool. An angle. All right, this guy wants, Puma. All right, so now he wants to be my friend. Okay, cool. When you meet someone and they don't even ask you what you do, they just like, yo, so how you doing today? You're like, oh, word, shit, you ask me how I'm doing today? That don't, like, you all right?
Yeah.
So it's like being authentic, man, just try to stay humble, be your true self. And it's like he said, it's really not that easy because you're around temptation and the lights turn on and it's a lot of temptation for you to act outside yourself. Yeah. Just to move ahead. But not understanding that, whether it's sneakers or it's athletes, people connect with humans first. Yeah. And they want to feel safe, right? So like, okay, he's normal. Yeah. All of these lights, but like I could talk to him like, Dion, I don't got Uber money today. Like, think you can help me out? You're like, oh, that's soft. That's all you need? All right, cool. And you don't make it a thing. Yeah. You're like, oh, so you all right there? Like, it's almost like they're not used to that, So like, industries could be tricky. So, being humble is, a lot of people say it like, man, I'm just humble. I'm like, this thing called humble brag, cool. But like, like truly trying to be humble, I feel like people are attracted to you the more you do that.
So I want to ask this final question and I want you guys to take your time, think about it, of course. How do we continue to spread awareness and the beautiful side of the business of basketball in a sense where people actually put in the work to get in? How are you guys planning to do that for the future? I know you say you don't speak forward, but I need you to think. Like, what are you guys' plans, your personal plans on expanding the beauty in the business of basketball?
Well, for me, is to be able to have conversations like this that audiences can see. And just have real conversations like this. Because how often does people have an opportunity to sit down with a Dion or Calvin and have these type of conversations? So what you guys are doing with this piece is part of that plan, right?
Yes.
So I want this to live forever and people can pull it up, look at it, and go, wow, that was some good insight I got from this guy. Other thing is continuing to reach and grab potential talent and say, hey, come here. Let's do this. And just create ways that people can be exposed to what you're doing, whether it's a one-on-one or like I said, an opportunity like this that people can hear you, see you, and see those skills and those abilities and that talent and experience. You got to figure out a way to do that. It's hard because I can only take so many calls, I can only mentor so many people, I can only do so many internships, but you pick and choose some people that you think, if I pay it forward them, then they're gonna pay it forward later. Right? And so that's what I kind of try to do.
That's good.
I mean, I think it's a simple formula for me, but like just being intentional. I think, the space that I work in that's complementary to basketball is in, the design industry, which there's not a lot of black and brown people. So for me, it's always about how am I being intentional with the choices that I'm making? So like, if I'm going to hire a camera crew or I'm going to hire somebody, how am I, like you said, passing it to somebody else who could run with it and sharing the game intentionally? Because I think for a long time before, I wasn't as intentional as I am now. Where like I want to make sure I'm showing up at spaces that I know people are going to hear the message, right? Versus like I just want to go and get clout or be in a cool space. Now it's more like I'm super intentional of like my messaging, who I want to support, why I'm supporting it, and I feel like that's how the shift starts to happen. The more of us who move with intention, the results have to come, right? So it's like the biggest shift in me over the last 5 years, I'd say, is like making sure I move with intention. Don't just do things for the sake of doing them. It's like I said earlier, it's like, what's the why?
Yeah.
Like, why am I doing this? And then like, what's the intention and what's the outcome are always the 3 questions that I'm asking myself all the time,
Mm-hmm.
right? So whether it's basketball, design, or just life, it's like, what are the 3 things I'm trying? What's my why, right? What's my intention? And then what's the outcome that I'm looking to happen from all of this? And then rinse and repeat,
Yes.
right? It's like rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. And if we can pull somebody up while you're doing this, that's an amazing thing to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, on top of that, I feel like you can't always continue to pull up people though.
Mm.
Someone else got to be the puller upper.
Okay, I was about to say, why is
right?
that?
Because I feel like, when I worked as a social worker, for example, I did it for 10 years. And it was from my mid-20s to my mid-30s. And at the end of my towards my mid-30s, there was the younger version of me who was coming from me. And I was saying to myself, well, hold on, if I continue to be a social worker, homie who's 24, who just finished school, you don't got a job, right? So like, I gotta move on and let him take it on. Now I gotta take another challenge. So my pulling up gonna be at a different stage now. Because otherwise, if I just stay here, then I'm just gonna continue to pull up from the gutter and no one's actually moving up.
Yeah.
It's just staying stagnant. So I'll be here, from 24 years old till I'm 50.
Yeah.
I actually think that's the wrong thing to do. Because it's like, we need the next generation to understand how to do it.
Yes.
And we gotta go figure out how to do it at a higher level and continue and continue and continue. And the more we do that, then they have no choice but to do it. Right? And that's legacy, right? Because for me, even looking at like things that I'm going through now, is like, wow, I'm working for a historically black school that didn't exist. So like, whoa, my goals have to shift because this building is gonna outlive me.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, so my job is like, let me make sure there's a social worker getting a gig. Like, then actually I can't really push the needle on a high level because if there's only a certain amount of us here, then we still need to continue to like multiply. That's right. Right? So pulling up is important, but know when it's time to go to the next floor and start pulling up from the 3rd floor versus the 2nd floor. I think that's very important. We don't say that enough,
Yes. That's it. Well, gentlemen, I just want to say thank you so much for your time. Dion, it's good to see you again and be in this space. It's crazy.
I'm proud of you too, man. You're doing a good job, bro.
Thank you. Calvin, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for your time. Guys, this has been League Biz. I'm Dennis Boateng. Thank y'all so much. Peace.
Yo, good one, man.
Yeah, that was real good. Yeah, man.
Good one.